Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. I'm lucky enough to be joined by Coach Hollie Gray of Luther College in Iowa. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for jumping on. So let's dive right into it. Let's kind of talk about the recruiting trail here first. When do you usually start hearing from players? What year are they in high school, and when do you start actually going out to watch players?
Yeah, so right now we're in the dead of recruiting season, right? And so that junior year, late sophomore year is kind of when I'm hearing from kids. And so yeah, for me, I go out and I'll watch them junior year right now, sophomores especially right now also. So yeah, that junior years when I'm really hearing from legitimate interest. That sophomore year is kind of, hey, come watch me play. So
Okay.
yeah, that junior sophomore year.
So how many inbound contacts are you getting on a weekly, monthly basis, do you think?
Yeah, weekly basis, we're probably sitting at 15 to 20 domestics, and then a handful of internationals that are reaching out. And so obviously around the bigger tournament time, that starts to increase. But yeah, on a weekly average, we're probably 15 to 20, which again, for me is exciting. So
Okay, awesome. Well, what are some of the things you like to see in that first communication from a recruit?
I'm super simple. And maybe it's just like the age of everything, but for me, I need name, number, email, and then what color jersey are you wearing on the weekend? What's your number on your team? So yeah, I like to keep it super simple. These super long emails, I'm my vice captain of this team and I have a 4.0 national. I'm like, that's great. I'm sure you're a great person, but for me, I like to keep it simple. Name, jersey number, jersey color, maybe a coach contact also, just because I like to say I'm the most nosy, inquisitive person out there, where I start calling people and getting connected there. So yeah, I like to keep things simple.
If it's not an email about an upcoming tournament or something, they're just reaching out because they're interested.
Yep.
What else do you like to see? Do you like to see highlight clips or full game film or anything like
For
that?
sure. For sure.
Yeah.
For me, again, highlight videos are great. Again, it's that like pique your interest type thing. Getting full game videos, I've actually gotten a couple of those, and when I get those alone, I actually get like very frustrated. But the kids that I do love actually seeing are when they send me full game videos and they clip out all of their actions and timestamp all their actions, good and bad, which for me goes a long way, and that piques my interest even more. And so, yeah, if you're
Okay.
sending me an email, just like, Coach, I'm interested in Luther College, I still need that game schedule, but highlight video and things of that nature is also great. So, yeah, it's all about getting interest.
Okay. So where do you tend to spend your time on the recruiting trail in terms of like what tournaments are you usually going to? Are you ever watching high school games, anything like that?
Yep. Yeah. So the majority of our girls are from Minnesota. And so for me, that's a short trek up the road. And so high school season gets a little tricky for us just because Minnesota girls high school is in the fall, which is the middle of our season. But
Sure.
again, I'm up there. I'm actually going up there tonight also to watch a couple games and be around some things and some tournaments. But yeah, we go to the big ones, right? The Jefferson Cups, the ECNL showcases, the regional USYS regional tournaments in the summer. But yeah, then the Shattuck has the major clubs around us do their own tournaments, and so we get out to those.
Okay.
But yeah, and then one or two national events every year also. So
Okay.
yeah.
Do you have a set player of numbers you're trying to recruit every year, or does it basically kind of varies?
No, so it's great in that regard at the D3 level. I get to kind of set my own roster size. And so I have that number in my head of like what's the ideal roster number. And for me, that's 33 to 37. And so for me, I'm in that mold of like I want to stay in that number. But also what's great is if I get 40 really good players, I'm going to keep 40 really good players on my roster. And so, yeah, for me, there's not a mandated number, but in my head, I've got that 30 to 37 target. And so it's all about replacing and replenishing the cupboard, as they say. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
So obviously you're D3, so no athletic money. What's the scholarship situation like at your school specifically, kind of in the academic and other side of things?
Yeah. So we're academic. You're right. You hit the nail on the head there. We're no athletic money, academic scholarships. And for me, our scholarships are big time. And so it's all academic merit based there, but we also have financial aid. The FAFSA starts to kick in. And our school does really well with a couple other scholarships, again, kind of depending on schools, diversity scholarships, things of that nature that a lot of kids don't even realize that they qualify for until I start, getting a little nosy and I ask questions and things of that nature before they're like, oh, I qualify for that and I qualify for this. And so, our school does a great job of giving that out. And for me, that's only going to continue to increase. We've had that conversation as an institution of what our scholarship is going to look like moving forward. And again, we're starting to do some different things there, which again has me excited as a coach too. So
awesome. So when you're, sifting through all those emails and you've watched a lot of games and you're deciding who you really want to offer, what do you value most in terms of both on the field and off the field? So like on the field stuff, are you looking for the best athletes? Are you looking at soccer IQ? Like what are your top things?
Yeah, for me, and that's actually a great question, right? And it's interesting when kids ask that question because they're like, oh, well, what do you look for? And I always say, like, every coach wants a player who's got a really good first touch, right? Like, so kids are like, oh, you didn't say how good is your first touch? I'm like, well, yeah, that's a given. I want you to have a good first touch. It's a given. I want you to have a good soccer IQ, right? And so for me, I look for, right, little things like how many times is a player checking their shoulder in a game? How many times are they scanning the field? And how coachable are they? And not coachable right from their coach, because I think that's an easy one for players to say, oh yeah, my coach is telling me to do something, I'm going to do it. But how coachable are you from your teammates of, all right, you're a center defensive midfielder, your center back is telling you they need you to screen passes at a better rate. And you turn around and say, no, I'm not going to do that. Well, for me, that's a player I'm like, yeah, you're not a part of our program.
Right.
But if your teammate's saying, hey, I need you to do this, and you say, okay, I got you, and you start to do it, for me, that's ideal. And so I look for those things on the field. Off the field, again, because I'm nosy, I start asking like character questions. All right, what do they like to do? Who are they as a person? I ask almost every player I talk to, like, all right, if I were to call your 3 best friends, what would they say? All right, if I call your 3 like least friends, what would they say about you?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I think you start to figure out who kids are. And for me, our culture as a program is why we're successful. We talk about being a family, and for me, a family isn't the like rosy, like, oh, we're always best friends, right? A family is we're in the midst of battle, and like, I actually don't like you that much today, but I love you and I care about your success, right? And
Right.
so I need people, and I'm looking for players and people to come in that foster that and want to live that and breathe that. And so, yeah, those are kind of the things. Coachability is a big one for me, and not from a coach, but from a teammate. And then who are you as a person off the field? And for me, getting kids on campus is important because they get to see us, but also our current players get to kind of, all right, well, do we see you fitting in here? Are we going to enjoy you? Do you fit our values as a culture and as a program? And luckily, again, I trust my current team so much right now that they come in like, yeah, we love her. You have to get her. And so that like added pressure for me is great. Luckily, it hasn't been too often where they've come in and said, yeah, coach, she doesn't fit who we are.
Well, that says a lot about your first instincts too. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Like, all right. Oh, this is gonna not go well for us down the road. So maybe we should part ways. And so, yeah, for me, that's important.
Well, to that end, in terms of like parting ways or other people, like, do you how do transfers kind of fit into your recruiting, or do you get many in or out? And then also, how do walk-ons kind of do you get many of those? Do you kind of look at having a walk-on trout, et cetera?
Yeah, for sure. So the good thing is we don't have many transferring out, and I'll kind of circle back to that one. Transferring in, I'm looking at a couple transfers. But again, for me, that it becomes a tricky dynamic of like, all right, you've been in college, but you haven't been in our program. So you have that like maturity aspect, but does that maturity always correlate to who we are? And so as I get down and closer to the end of the process with that, I set up phone calls and Zoom calls and let them interact with our current players to kind of go through that thing. In terms of walk-ons, we do have tryouts in our preseason schedule, our preseason time, sorry. And so in that, it is, for me, it's a perfect tryout because it's 10 days and you get full access to who we are as a program. And at the end of that, either you're in or you're out. That's just a conversation, right? And so some of those at the D3 level are girls who email me saying, hey, coach, I'm coming to Luther. I played soccer in high school. Can I continue in college? And again, I do my research on the front end to say, all right, this is what you're signing up for. But I also open it up to them there. In terms of like girls transferring out, again, for me, it ties back into who we are as a program and the family aspect of things. And I was actually having this conversation with my girlfriend not too long ago of, because we're such a family, I think, and some coaches fall into the like, oh, a girl's like, I didn't get my top recruit, that crushes me. Yes, that does bother me, but also what hurts me more is having somebody who comes into our program and says, yeah, I'm not, like, this isn't it for me. For me, that's like, literally, it's like a sibling saying, yeah, I don't want to be a part of this family anymore. I'm going to disassociate myself. And that just, right, it crushes you. And so we've been fortunate enough in that regard of not having anybody transfer out. And for me, that's super important.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk more about the school, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who have maybe never heard of Luther College.
Haven't heard of Luther College in Decorah, Iowa, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
So, I want these videos to really try to help people and understand more than just what they're going to find on a website, right? So, so tell me what are the things that your school is known for, the most awesome things about your school that I'm not going to really find by clicking through the website?
Yeah, for sure. And I think for me, it's the people, right? And so having gone to, I'm a Luther grad, and so I have that aspect in that relationship, but I was at a high level boarding academy, Shattuck St. Mary's in Faribault, Minnesota, another town that a lot of people I'm sure haven't heard of. But I was born in Chicago, and so I kind of had like a bigger city, bigger lifestyle mentality. And then I came on a visit and fell in love with Luther in the sense that the people cared about you. And again, for me, people are going to listen to this and like, wow, he sure talks about caring and people and love and things of that nature. But that's Luther in a nutshell, the people. And that's one for me. The second one is people hear Iowa, right? And they think, oh, flat cornfield, things of that nature, which I can go on a whole nother rant about that, Matt, of just like, when you're thinking about that, you're probably thinking of Nebraska. But for me, Decorah as a whole it's not Iowa. We've got hills and bluffs and it's gorgeous, and trails and things of that nature. So the town, but also our school, we're connected to our nursing majors, one of our best majors, one of the best in the country, because we are affiliated with Mayo Clinic up in Rochester, Minnesota. And so that program is amazing, and all of our nursing majors are leaving literally right pre-pandemic. Right now, pandemic is making things a little bit, right? We need nurses. But all of our kids are leaving with jobs wherever they want because they have hands-on experience in arguably the best hospital in the country.
Wow.
And so those are kind of like the three big hitters: the people, the location, and our education, which I guess you can kind of find out online, but also you can't really get a good grasp on. So
okay. Yeah, so I grew up in Ohio, but
Okay.
I went to school out on the East Coast, and
Okay.
it's amazing how especially folks on the East Coast don't have the best sense of geography
Yep.
past
Yep.
Pittsburgh, right? So,
Yep.
whenever I was going home for holiday breaks and I said I'm going back to Ohio, they'd be like, "Man, was that like a 30-hour drive?" And I'm like, "It's not Iowa, it's Ohio. It's,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got to
Yeah.
know
For
where."
sure.
Yeah. So,
For sure. Oh, the amount of people that think Chicago is the state and Illinois is the city. And
well,
okay.
and it's hard, I mean, you guys are in northern Iowa,
Yep.
which,
Yep.
I mean, you're basically on the same latitude as Milwaukee. So it's like, wow,
Yeah.
that's farther north. Most people
Yeah.
wouldn't
Yeah.
realize how
For
far north
sure.
that is.
Oh, we get pretty far
Um,
north. What's
yeah,
great again about our location is I like to tell people we're as far north in Iowa as you can go without being in Minnesota. Um, so we get that aspect. And I'm like,
yeah,
yeah,
that's
we're
not.
basically Minnesotan, but we've got the cool part of Iowa too.
There
So
you go.
yeah, it's the best
Um,
of both worlds.
so what at your school, how do student athletes kind of balance their studies and their sport commitments? What support mechanisms does your school have in place to
Yeah,
help?
yeah, for sure. So what's great again for me being a Luther grad, I can speak to that like on a more personal level and not
Sure.
just the like, oh, this is what our players go through.
Yeah.
Um, all of our teams operate in the like we're here to support you, but also teams kind of manage themselves a little bit. And so what's great is you have upperclassmen who are looking out for first years of saying, oh, you're a bio major and you have Professor X. I had Professor X when I was a freshman. Here's what you need to know. Here's how you study. So you've got that support there. Um, what's also great is all of our coaches here don't want and like they literally don't enjoy missing class at all. And so this past fall, especially, the most classes one of our players missed was 3 in a
Wow.
fall season. And that's like not full days. That is
Yeah.
a
Classes.
12 a.m. That's like
Wow.
a noon class,
Yeah.
an 8 a.m. class, and
Right.
an 11 class. That's it.
Right.
And that's common practice across the board for our school because the value of being in class is important. Um, Especially when we have smaller class sizes. Our classes are 11 to 1. So you get that personal aspect. And so, yeah, we're not missing class, but also if kids start to struggle, right, we have academic alerts that every coach gets of just like, hey, Stacy hasn't turned in her past 3 assignments in her English class, right? And so the professor has illustrated like, hey, there's a worry here. And in those cases, the professor talks to the student, but also as coaches, right, we get to have that relationship of, hey, what's going on? Do you need help? How can I support you? Um, Along with all of the other institutional NCAA safety nets and things of that nature that fall into place. So yeah, again, the perks of being a smaller school, we get to care for our kids in a deeper manner, and we take pride in that. So
Okay. Awesome. So what's a typical non-game day look like? What's a typical game day look like for you guys?
yeah, so I mean, the good thing is they're not drastically different, right? Especially in season. It all consists of class. So again, class 8 to 2:15, kind of in that time frame in the morning, early afternoon. And then we'll train I block off 4 to 6:30, 4 to 6:45 for our players. And what that entails is practice, pre and post game meetings, film sessions, and things of that nature. We lift in season also there, so that blocks off that time. And then they have time at the end of the like after that, and they go eat as a team, and they're around each other, and they do their homework, and they hang out, and they're college kids, and make all of the best adult college decisions that college kids make, right? And then game days, that's almost the exact same. Just if we're playing, we typically play. If we're at home, we typically play at 5, and so we'll do a pregame meal at 1. We'll meet at 4, and then we'll head out to warm up and go through the business there. What's great at the D3 level, especially in our conference, our men usually do double headers, and so what's great is like we play, the men are at our game, and then we finish, and our entire team is out supporting the men, and then we go and we do training and recovery and all that jazz the next day. And so, yeah, it's the best of both worlds. You get to be a student and you get to be for me, you get to be a top level athlete at the same time. So
Nice. Now,
yeah.
what in terms of your conference and non-conference games, how
Yep.
much do you guys travel? What's kind of your radius?
Yeah, so the best part about our conference is we used to be called the IAC, so the Iowa Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. Now we're the ARC, so the American Rivers Conference. Same schools. We added in Nebraska Wesleyan. So that's a 6-hour drive for us, just if you think about northern Iowa to the middle of Nebraska. But everything other than that, we're in the 3-hour range. And that's our conference schedule. Non-conference, we're typically in that 3.5, 4 hours, with every year us looking to do a larger trip, an overnight trip. And so this past season, we went out to Kenosha, Wisconsin to play Carthage, and Milwaukee School of Engineering. In the future here, we're looking to go down to Texas, to get a couple games down there. And so that typically is opening weekend. And so, yeah, we typically are in the 3 to 4 hour range. Again, allows us not to miss class, which is important.
No, that's great. Well, let's dive deeper then into the actual team and the soccer part of it here. So if you're an incoming freshman, how much, am I playing? Can I expect to play right away or am I not? Do you guys, with a roster of 30 to 35, you probably don't have a reserve team or anything. So how does that work as a first year coming in?
Yeah. So what I tell every first year, right? And I actually tell everybody on our team, I don't guarantee playing time for anybody, right? And I think that's a common practice for coaches. What I tell her, but like, if you deserve to play, you will play. And so this past year we had 2 out of our class of 7. So 2 out of 7 first years played in every single game. We also had a first year goalkeeper who got action in a handful of games for us, some of which were extremely important. And so, yeah, for me, if our first year is performing, the first year is going to play. How much that is, again, kind of depends on the team. But again, right now for me, if you can play, you're going to play, and I'm going to find a way to get you on the field. And a perfect example is that we ended up changing our formation because we had what would have been our third outside back was performing so well and was coming into my office, and every day I was like, what do I need to do to play more? What do I need? And I said, you need to do this, this, and this. And you need to do it consistently. She said, okay. And then she went out and did it consistently. So she got to play more. The problem was the other 2 outside backs, they weren't dropping in performance, right? And so I had to look around the team and say, okay, we're going to change some things because she deserves to play. You both deserve to play.
Yeah.
We're going to do it. And so, yeah, first years, again, I'm recruiting kids that can come in and play. I've told our entire team, our returners, my job is to bring in kids to replace them. Their job is to not be replaced. And so I tell that to all the kids I'm recruiting too, like, hey, I'm bringing you in to replace people. So yeah, if you're going to play and you're going to perform, you're going to play.
So you, you mentioned switching formations mid-season.
Yep.
How would you describe your team style of play and your style of coaching?
Yeah. So our style of play, like I equate a lot of who I am to my coaching mentors, but also who I am as a person and my personality. And so if you were to talk to my mom, I'm the oldest of 3. I had 2 younger sisters. Being the oldest, I didn't do the best job at sharing, which is great because it ties into like my coaching mentors. And so I don't really like the other team having the ball. And so we're high pressing and we're all over the field to get the ball back. But in possession, we're keeping the ball. We're not this direct team. Doesn't really fit who I am as a person, and what I believe in, and my coaching mentors there. And so, yeah, with the ball, we want to have it and we want to be calm. We want to play forward, right? But playing forward doesn't mean route one for me. So what we say is if you're playing backwards, there's a purpose, to go forward. So yeah, that's who we are as a program and what we believe in. Who I am as a coach, again, hopefully it's kind of coming through. Like I care a lot about the principles and who we are, but for me, being a coach and a leader of a person, and so I'm going to be demanding on our team, but I also understand that there are good days and bad days. And And so I have to come alongside them, and I'm not this yeller, berating person. It hasn't ever been my personality, but I have been demanding, mostly because I'm demanding of myself. Luckily, one of my mentors, now colleague, former coach, is right down the hall, is like, you were the absolute worst your first year here because you were so demanding on everybody, but you weren't always as consistent as you were demanding. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fair. And so now me as a coach, I'm still demanding, but I also seek my own consistencies and understand that if I don't do what I'm telling our team to do, it becomes harder for them to follow me. And so, yeah, that's what I'm after, and that's who I am.
All right. So, you mentioned, mentors and other coaches and stuff. So how big is your coaching staff, and what roles do they play for the squad?
So right now we're at one full-time assistant, and then we have a part-time assistant. The cool thing about our program and our school, again, our program and the men's program here are super close. And so our assistants get to work with both teams. And what's cool for me is that's where I kind of where I cut my teeth in the coaching realm, in that kind of position where I'm working with the men's program and the women's program and vice versa. And so with that, we have staff meetings every day before training. We have staff meetings probably every like 3 hours right now out of season, just because we're like, all right, we want to get back to coaching.
Yep.
We want to get back out recruiting. And so coordinating those things. We also have a full-time or part-time goalkeeper coach. And so that's all. He's also in our conversations in terms of their day-to-day and their duties. They're in planning sessions for training. They're in recruiting, right? Conversations of, all right, where do we need to go? How do we get out there? Who do we need to see? How are we getting on campus? Oh, she's coming on campus today. All right, here's what I need you to do. Here's what I'm doing. And so for me, our assistants are massive to who we are and what we do and our success. They're a super important extension of who I am and what I believe. And again, because that relationship is super important for our players. So
yeah, for sure. Now you mentioned planning sessions and things like that. You're in the off season right now. So what does the typical off season program look like for players there?
Yeah. So right now our players are, again, in that off season, that non-traditional part. And so right now they're lifting and running 3 times a week with our strength and conditioning coach. Which again, for me, I trust them. They're a part of our staff also, which if they listen to this, they're probably not going to be too happy that I forgot them. So I'm also going to make a shameless plug for athletic trainers right now being a part of our staff and how great they are. But yeah, right now they're lifting and running 3 times a week with them. And then we are fortunate enough to have an indoor facility here for our girls to play in. And so they're playing futsal 3 to 5 times a week. Just kind of depending, those 2 additional times are when they can get together and everything there. And what's great is that's all optional, right? Like the NCAA says, I can't mandate that they're there.
Right.
Our program is at a state where the girls are choosing, our women are choosing to do that because they realize the benefit and the success, right? If they don't do it, we're going to fall behind, which we don't want to do. And so that's kind of where we're at. And then hopefully the snow melts off here soon, but it being February and my computer's telling me it's 3 degrees, that's not happening anytime soon. So our spring season.
So yours doesn't say 79?
No.
Oh, okay.
I need to get down to I need to change my computer to Bradenton weather.
Okay, there you
go. Something, but although I do like the snow in the winter.
My kids miss snow, that's for sure.
Yeah. You miss it until you see it every day for about 4 or 5 months. And you're like, okay, it can go away now. So yeah, up until like we'll go early April, I believe, is when our first like spring session is, where I'll get out with them. We'll train 3 times a week. And during that time, they'll still lift and condition with our strength conditioning coach before heading off for summer break. So,
okay. Awesome. Yeah. Well, this is the last question I got for you. This is the free for all. What else would you like prospects, recruits, parents, anybody to know about your school, your program, or anything that we didn't cover?
That is a very, very broad, broad question to end with.
Well, this is, we covered a lot of ground. I don't want to, make sure that you wanted to say something that I didn't give you the chance to.
Yeah, for sure. I think the one thing for me that I want prospects and parents and people listening to this to kind of, take with them about Luther, but also, right, and I'm gonna make a shameless plug about D3 sports and just the college decision as a whole, is you're finding the right fit, right? And so I can speak to it a little bit on the personal level of I was at a private boarding school academy where I'm D1, D1, D1. I went D1 for a year and I realized it wasn't the right fit for me academically, socially, playing wise. And so all that's to say, like, there's a right fit at every level, right? And what's great about our family and who we are as a culture and as a program, as a school, is it's the right fit for the majority of our kids. And that's an important process, and it's not an easy process. But I think the coaches that are worth their stuff, they understand that and want to support and kids to get to that level of like, all right, this is the right fit for you socially, academically, athletically, and you're going to get everything that you need to get. And so for me, Luther is that place. On a professional level, it's the right fit for me. It's the right fit for our team. It's the right fit for our incoming class. And hopefully it's the right fit for, classes to come, as we push on to make big things happen here in good old Decorah, Iowa. So,
it's great. I couldn't agree more. I played D3, but I coached at a D2 school. And honestly, the main reason I even started this was so that more people could realize how many opportunities are out there and to hopefully help them find their fit, because I agree. It's one thing, people get that in that D1 mindset, and it's not always the best option. So
yep.
Awesome.
And again, for some people it is, right? And for those,
Sure.
like,
Absolutely,
I love them, right? Go for it. But right now I have a girl on our team who's got a triple major, is an all region player, has XYZ internship signed up. Like, yeah, you're at the right place for you, which is great.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah,
That's great. That's great. Well, Coach, thanks for taking the time. Hopefully, you'll get warmed up here soon, and we'll get some more people interested in Luther College, and we'll keep an eye on you and see how you guys do in the fall.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Matt.
Thank you.
Yep.